Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Storm, and this week we're going to learn a new data structure in C Sharp called lists. Now, lists are a lot like arrays that we talked about last week, but there are some differences that make them very powerful and something that we definitely want to pay attention to. All right, so I'm going to make a new project, console application. I'm going to call this lists teacher edition. And I'm going to make sure it's in my computer programming folder, which it is. Click OK. All right, cool. Now we have our application, our brand new empty application. And what I want to do is I want to create a new list. Now, the way lists differ from arrays is an array, when we create a new array, we basically just create a, a set of data that goes inside the array and it stays there, right? It's pretty much immutable at that point. We can't do anything with it except for pull information out of those indexes and reset the values or display them on the screen, that kind of stuff. We can't add any new indexes to the array at that point, and we can't get rid of indexes from the array. The other problem is that we can't really efficiently sort an array or make changes to the array in any way once it's built, right? So lists help with all of that stuff. We can create a list that will allow us to add and subtract and sort and do all kinds of cool stuff with it. So let me show you how to do that. First of all, we want to create a new list. Creating a new list. All right. Now the way we create a list is we type the keyword list, and then inside these carets, these greater than, less than symbols, uh, we put in the type of list we want to create. For this first one, we're going to create an integer list, and we give it a name. I'm going to call it numbers. Now this is where it's different. Normally at this point we would just start putting in information. The problem is we actually need to say that I want this new integer list to be a new integer list. Now, I know it's a little convoluted, but this is something that we have to do, and we'll explain later on in the class why we need to do this when we get into some of the object-oriented programming techniques later on in the year. But for right now, just know this is how you create a new list. So we need a keyword new, and we want to make it a list int, and we'll put some parentheses behind it. So now we have a new list called numbers, right? We have a new list called numbers. And at this point, we can actually do things. First of all, we can add items to the list. To the list. And the way we do that is actually really easy. We just type the list we're trying to add, and then we type the word add, and then we put in whatever we're trying to add to it. So 45, I guess, and we can do that as many times as we want. Numbers.add, 12. Excuse me. And we can write as many numbers as we want. We can add numbers to this list all day long, and as long as they're the right data type, they will go into the list properly. And that's really helpful. So, instead of doing it all on one line, we're going to do it separately because, we can add it at any point. We can add a new item to this list. The way lists are helpful, though, in programs is, let's say, think about it like this. Let's say we're making a video game, and we want to have a list called, uh, you know, game items or weapons or whatever, right? And our character hasn't picked up anything yet. We can have an empty list that has nothing in it yet. And as soon as they pick up a new weapon, then we can add that weapon to the list. Super easy, right? Okay, cool. So let's actually look at some of the things we can do with a list. So stuff we can do. First of all, we can return the count or the amount of items that are in that list at any given time. We just console.writeLine, and we want to access the numbers list, and let's find our count. There we go, count, and then semicolon, and that will actually tell us how many items are in the list currently. Let me go ahead and console.read line. Oh, And let's run that and see how many items are in my list currently. And 3, and that's exactly correct because we added 3 items to the list. So that's what we can do. We can do a count. We can also add those numbers together. So console.writeLine numbers.sum. Oh, not sub, sum. And this needs parentheses as well. Oh, come on. This needs parentheses. All right. Let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. Okay, so the sum of all my numbers is 846, which let's take a look. Yep, that looks about right, 846. What else can we do? We can find the max number in my list. So we could do writeLine numbers.max. Oh, I need parentheses there. And that will tell me the highest number in the list. Let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. And yeah, 789 is my highest number. We can do min and everything else. Let's do one. Let's say we don't know what type of list this is, and we want to display the type of list. We want to figure out if this is a number or an integer list or a float or a string or whatever. We can actually do console.writeLine. We could say numbers.getType, okay, with the parentheses there. And that will tell us what type of list this is. So right here, system.collections.generic_list1, it's system.int32. So this is an integer list. Perfect. Alrighty, so that's a bunch of cool stuff we can do. Let's see how we can actually display some of these items from this list, because we have some stuff in here. So displaying items. So let's do console.writeLine. And again, this is super simple. It's just like with an index. You would just access the array or the list, and you would do the brackets, the strong brackets like that, and we would just indicate which index we want to display. And there it is, 789. That is index 2 in my numbers list, right? So it's the same as displaying indexes in an array, except for our list is now, we can actually add to it and make changes. So let's actually talk about a different type of list, right? So far we've been doing a number list. Let's do a list of strings, okay? So we need to create a new list. So list, and instead of an int, it's a string list. And we're going to call this food. And it's going to be new list string, just like that. So now we have a string list called food. And let's add some stuff to it. So food.add, and we'll say apple food.add banana, and food.add orange. Perfect. So now we've added some food to our list. What we could also do is we could remove items, right? So I told you that we can add and remove as many things as we want. So there are a couple ways we can remove stuff. We can actually remove just the data itself. We can remove, things based on the data. So let's say I don't want any bananas in my list. So I can actually go through and food.remove, and I can just indicate that I want all the bananas, B-A-N-A-N-A-A, what? B-A-N-A-N-A. All right, I want to remove the banana from the list. So it'll take the banana out of the list. Wherever it is, whatever index it's in, it's going to remove that banana. If I want to remove from a specific index, remove from index, I can say food.remove. And I can say, oh, instead of quotes, I want it to remove from index 0, right? So I can remove, oh, not that way. Remove, no? Oh, remove at, that's why. Okay, so remove, I actually need to make this a remove at. So remove at index 0. It'll actually remove whatever's in index 0. Remove that. Now, it's important to understand that it's not just removing the information and leaving the index behind, so there's a blank index. It's actually removing the entire index and shrinking the size of our list. Same thing with up here. If we remove the banana, it's actually removing that entire index and shrinking the list, because lists, remember why they're better than arrays in some contexts, because lists can actually grow and shrink as we add and remove data from them. So that's why they're really helpful. And another cool thing is we can actually add lists together. We can add one list to another. So let's create a new list of strings, new string list. Now we can't add lists of the same or of different data types together because it just won't work. So we need to add lists together of the same data type. So that's why we're creating a string list. List string. Let's call this vegetables. And it's going to be a new list string. Okay, so we have a new list of vegetables. And we're going to add, I don't know, carrot. And let's do add, I don't know, broccoli. I probably spelled broccoli wrong, but whatever. So we have some vegetables that we're going to add to our food array, which if we look at it, we can actually see we only have one item left in our food array. Can you guess what that is? Well, we removed banana, so banana's gone, right? So then we have only two items left in our list. We have apple and orange, but we removed index 0, which means apple is gone too. So now we only have orange. So we're going to add carrot and broccoli to orange, but instead of adding them individually like this, we can actually just go fruit, or not fruits, food dot add range, add a range of items, and we're going to say vegetables. And so that's going to add our fruit or our carrot and our broccoli to our orange in our food array. And let's make sure that that actually worked. Let's do a console dot write line, and let's say it is food. Let's say index 2. Okay, let's run that and see if that works. And it did, broccoli. Broccoli got successfully added to the list of food, and when we output that index, we got broccoli, which is exactly what we should have gotten. All right, so that's a very easy data structure for you to learn, especially since we just learned about arrays. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to cut it there. That's really all you need for the project you're going to work on. If you run into a problem, let's say you're trying to figure out how to make lists do something. I definitely didn't cover everything a list can do, but that information is out there, right? One of the best skills that you can learn as a programmer is the ability to look up information or look up solves for a problem that you're working on online. Take that information, parse through what it's actually telling you, and find a solution for your problem. You need to become a good researcher in order to become a good programmer. So if you run into a problem that you can't solve on your own, you can ask me, but I would much prefer, not because I'm lazy and I don't want to talk to you, but I would much prefer that you try to find a solution to that problem online, because it's going to help you build those skills. Because every program I sit down and write, every program, and I've been doing this for a long time, but every program I write, still, I have to look something up. Oh, I forgot the syntax for this, or I don't know if this actually works with this kind of thing, or I'm looking up stuff all the time. So it's a good practice to get into. Use the internet, it is powerful. All right, I'm going to leave it alone. Lists are a great data structure that I definitely think you should dig into and learn as much as possible. You're going to need to use lists in your next project, so please make sure you understand this before you move on. Um, but that's it for me, and I will see you next time. Thank you for paying attention.